Hey all, I just want to take hopefully just like maybe 5, not even minutes of your time real quick, and share this video with you. I do want to say there's a download in the blog post where you're seeing this video. That download is a super useful document. It's short and sweet, it's not overwhelming, and I would encourage you to download it because that has most of the details. This video is to kind of explain why I have my scope and sequence and curriculum map the way I do. But again, that PDF download has a lot, it's a little more in depth, but it's not overwhelming. So definitely download that. And okay, let's get into it. Okay, so before we get into biology, I do like to take the time to review these fundamentals. So scientific method or CER or both, um, graphing and laboratory safety. I review graphing and I will tell you it has made a world of difference. Highly recommend. Lab safety, I save that for right before my lab. Even sophomores need a lab safety review. And furthermore, if you were to review lab safety, say like maybe just a couple weeks before your lab, it's too much. 2 weeks later, they forget. My first lab of the year is the liver enzyme lab, and that's my biochem unit. So I will take a couple days right before that lab to review lab safety. If you do it anytime before that, they'll forget. Just something to keep in mind. Okay, so scope and sequence for bio. Um, Basically, I look at it as kind of like scaffolding, like you're building kind of a masterpiece. So you just have to ask yourself, okay, if I want to use my time wisely and have students fully understand one topic, what should they know before that? Like, how can we set this up? So that's how I look at it. There's macro to micro, micro to macro. This could be a total preference. Before we get any further, I do micro to macro. I always save evolution for last. This is my sequence here. So starting with biochemistry, and there's a couple asterisks you'll see, and it's color coded. And let's talk about why that is. So again, I do micro to macro. My biochemistry, my cells, and my cell transport, those I kind of lump together as like the building blocks. I mean, everything in bio comes down to cells and the organelles and the function of those cells and how they contribute to life processes. So there's that, and then also cell transport. So those all get grouped together. And then I move on to cell division, DNA and protein synthesis, and genetics.
Which are your inheritance topics?
So I will say for cell division, you can break it up. I have it lumped together. However, if you were to ask me, Vanessa, how do you teach this? I would say, okay, for cell division, I just teach the cell cycle and cancer and mitosis. And then I move on to DNA. I save meiosis for after genetics. So you can totally do that. I just like that flow better. It's a preference thing. If you're a new teacher and you're not sure what you want to do, I would suggest saving meiosis for after genetics. That's my suggestion. If you want to try it yourself and see how it goes, that's an option too. Um, because there are plenty of teachers that do teach mitosis and meiosis together. So it could be a preference thing. I think it flows better. Again, to me, it's all about understanding. So I put it in after genetics, which is not reflected here because I'm kind of trying to keep things simple. And then also, so I have an asterisk next to protein synthesis. Um, so you can lump that with DNA, which I think is probably what most people do. I actually also teach it after genetics. Maybe I'm an anomaly. I don't know. That's just what I like. But there are pros and cons to that. So, protein synthesis may be easier for students to comprehend after they've learned about inheritance patterns. But if they learn it before genetics, then it might make genetics a little easier to comprehend. So, to me, that's like not as big of a deal. But I'm just putting that out there. Okay, cell respiration, photosynthesis, ecology, those are all your cycles basically. Matter, energy, that type of thing. Ecology, I have an asterisk there because to me that's like actually your most flexible one, and you can kind of stick that one anywhere. You can start the year with that if you wanted to. There's just something about ecology, like put that wherever you want. And then finally, we've got evolution, population genetics, and classification. Classification has been taken out of a lot of standards recently, so for a lot of people, you're just going to cross that one off. But that's basically how I teach it. So if you were curious as to like why my scope and sequence was in this order, that's why. So you have 180 school days, and that doesn't count like state testing. That doesn't count your final day, midterm testing. It doesn't count like the pep rally half day where you're really not doing anything. So you don't want to plan for all 180. You don't want to end up scrambling at the end of the year where you're like, okay, I have 4 days, not even to teach evolution before um, our final exam, and I don't even have time for, oh, I don't know, review or something like that. So I usually try to max out at like 170 days planned. The way my scope and sequence is in the download that I was telling you about earlier, I think it's only like 160, which I love, because if you're like, oh, this scope and sequence says I should spend 15 days on it and spend 17, you don't have to panic. Like, there's time, so it's fine. And I think if you add everything up, and this is like a range with a lot of cushions for a minimum number of days and maximum number of days, you get like a minimum of 122 days, I think, and a maximum of 164. So plenty of time, plenty of cushion. Oh, I just had one final tip that I started doing this. I'm sure we've all done this, but just in case you hadn't thought of it. So there's like a little note section in planners. This is just one that I made, but I think like even the ones that you buy in a spiral bound like teacher planning notebook have a note section, and I would say utilize that. So I keep this, so I look at it and I say, okay, I said to change this for next time, and then so for that year, my most recent planning, I can reflect that. Okay, I think that's it. All right, thanks guys, bye.